Hello, everyone. Welcome to where the JVM is entering the era of AI performance tuning. I'm Anna, currently working as a developer advocate for Oracle, and I'm very happy to be here today with you. I'd like to start this session by asking you a question. Please raise your hand if in the last, let's say, 3 years, you installed Java on any device. So we have people that install Java. Did you change that version? Like, please raise your hand if you changed the version that you have installed. Okay, so as many hands have changed the versions. Well, congratulations. You have managed your own Java runtime. And I want to talk to you a bit about managing the Java runtime and how can we make that performant. So why would we want to manage our Java runtime? What's wrong with the version that we are using at this moment? Or what was wrong with the version that we were using 10 years ago? Well, the story goes as follows. But for one running Java application, well, that's the result of the collaboration of different components, right? So there's your code, the one that you write. But most of the time, you're writing that with the help of a framework and help of some libraries. And last but not least, you're developing that and you're running that with the Java runtime, with the JDK, provided by one of your preferred providers. Now, the JDK libraries are free for you to learn and to implement whatever you want, and they're very cool. They also provide a unified base of features that you can rely on. And they change at a different pace than your code. So you can rely on the fact that the JDK is going to change on some quarterly or half-a-year base, depending on update or feature release. But your developer code depends on those third-party libraries or those frameworks. Those can be only updated when a new version of a framework or of the library is being released. Now, the Java runtime, on the other hand, you know when it's coming to you. Now, this separation creates some interesting opportunities, let's say opportunities, between your developer code and the runtime that you're having. And most of the time, what people think about upgrading is that, well, you're updating from some nice language features, but you can live without those, right? And sometimes you're updating because you're thinking that maybe the new version is going to bring some changes from security point of view. And that's a better reason to upgrade, like maybe it's more secure. So what's the good stuff from these updates? Well, let me start with a small example. I know it's a lot of code for, for a session at this hour, but this code was written in 2014. What Java version do you think it was in 2014 when this code was written? You can yell at me.
8.
Good, it was 8. So this was written in 2014. It's using SSL version 3 to connect securely to java.com. Now, the interesting part is that SSL version 3 was disabled by default in JDK 8 update 31 in January 2015. So you had to change your application code to use now TLS version 1.0 and TLS version 1.1. And of course, you have to change your application, and you can spot the differences in red, what you had to change. Can somebody tell me what are the differences? Yeah, somebody said there are no differences. It's the same code. Because, well, just updating the runtime would make you just use the same old code with TLS 1.0 and TLS 1.1. That was a very, very happy scenario, right? Now, another interesting thing happened in 2021. When TLS 1.0 and TLS 1.1, of course, they were also disabled, and you had to rewrite once again your code for TLS 1.2 and TLS 1.3. So you can see again the differences, and again are none. The code is working, written in 2014. You had to change nothing, but just updating your runtime made your code secure. And that's pretty cool. What changes with every Java update, Java runtime update? there are two types of releases. So there's one that's called update release, and the update release usually contain only what is required for your application to keep running. Usually they contain critical bug fixes, they contain security updates, and other important things to keep your application running with the existing version that you already upgraded at. Now, the feature releases, on the other hand, they contain not only that, they contain also improvements that will make it easier for you to write code and update applications. And you saw earlier today in the keynote what happened with JDK 21, what features were delivered there. But also, it can contain removals and deprecations. So you cannot evolve without getting rid of that dead weight. Though updating, even within the same release, has different risks and rewards than upgrading across releases. Now, when you should update? You should update, well, updating is easy. Like, let's say you're jumping from 17.06 to 17.07 or 17.08. Updating in that case is low risk. And probably you have already done it if you're using JDK 17. So you can do that as soon as the release comes up. And if you're having tests in place, that is going to go smoothly. And if something is not working as expected, you go and check the release notes. You see that maybe I should have paid more attention to this and that. And everything goes great and well. Now, upgrading Java versions, on the other hand, that's another story. Java aims to preserve the backward compatibility, but still upgrading across releases is considered more dangerous. And probably you're doing that when, let's say, your license supports ends. You hear or see that somebody says, there's improved performance with JDK 21, you should migrate to JDK 21. Or there's some third-party library that you're using, has developed some cool feature for JDK 21, and you're going with that. Now, the last two reasons are usually because the bosses say so, and the fifth one, you have lovely colleagues that like to use the latest JDK, and you go with the flow. You're working in a team. So what would make migration easier? Migration is easier when you have a list of runtimes that you're running your systems on. You have a list of applications and a match between those, like you know which applications runs on what. And also it would be great if you would have like let's say a path on how to do that. And usually upgrading comes with some hurdles. So updating and upgrading Java at scale, especially, is a significant effort, and people spend like time analyzing how much time would that take. Think if it's the time now or maybe later, and so on. So managing Java scale is something that people found difficult across time because Java applications are deployed on your laptop, on-premise servers, on cloud servers. Most of the companies, especially large companies, they deploy a lot of Java installations and different runtime versions because maybe at some point in time you left a library. That library maybe is not maintained anymore and you're kind of stuck with that for a while until you're going to refactor your code. And sometimes you don't have visibility on all the Java deployments. Maybe there's a specific part of your system that you never troubled to update because it just worked and you worked on other cool features. The person who was working on that left the company and now you don't know what to do with that one. So managing Java at scale is not that easy. On the other hand, Java Management Service is there to help you with these tasks, and I'm going to demo that for you in a short while. Java Management Service is an OCI service which provides a single pane of glass to discover and manage your Java deployments across the enterprise. It gives you visibility in what you have. It can give you also insights based on your telemetry data about your applications. And it can give you information on what you can do better. And also it can do that in an automatic way. So it does that automatically. You don't stay with a list and say, I'm going to analyze from security point of view, from performance point of view, if it's worth to migrate this application to a different runtime. So there are a few differentiators about the Java Management Service, but what you should know is that JMS helps developers and enterprises to gain critical insights about their Java application behavior, compliance, and performance and many more. And that's thanks to an extensive JVM performance knowledge base. Now, as you know, Oracle develops the JVM. We have the greatest understanding on when and how to collect about the JVM telemetry data, and of course, with the minimum performance impact on the application. So how does that work? Now, the Java Management Service on the high-level architecture, let's imagine that we have multitude of applications, some deployed on laptops, on-premise servers, and on cloud. And can be any cloud, doesn't have to be just Oracle's. Now, the GMS autonomous agent can run on any of these and can discover active or dormant JDK installations. Maybe you install the JDK on a server, but you never use that server. You just keep it there, active for later on. It can detect and attach to any JVM processes, and it can load on demand new capabilities, do like code analysis, logic analysis, and so on. But also can do isolation of performance impact in applications, so it can handle processing and communications to OCI, or can upload JVM telemetry to OCI customer object stores. It manages your JDK installation lifecycle management, and it auto-updates itself. So what this means, it can discover and track the usage of your Java application. And when that happens, when that's analyzed, the agent is installed on your local. So the records that are being created about your performance are stored firstly on your local environments, the ones that you're managing. Later on, those can be sent to the Java Management Service itself that runs in the Oracle Cloud. Now, this part with the Oracle Cloud, it belongs to you, so it's managed by you. The storage there is known by you. Nobody will look into that. Once the agent is sending the data there, it can create reports about how performant is your application, give you insights about that, also give you a secure list on what you're having and how can you upgrade to more secure Java runtimes if needed. And of course, it can give you information about what third-party libraries are you running on, how secure are those, and many more. So you can use GMS on all kinds of systems. You don't have a restriction on that. There's the object storage that, of course, needs to be taken into account because you're going to store your records there. And of course, the basic, it comes into flavors. The basic one, that's available to anybody for free, and the advanced one that comes with the subscription. So let's talk a bit about the basic features and see them in action. The basic features, after you download the software to install the GMS plugin on what you want to scan, the basic features allow you to view the versions of the vendor and, of course, the Java runtimes running in your system, identify which Java versions are being used, identify how many Java installations are not up to date, view the installations running on Java runtimes, and of course identify which systems run Java runtimes. So without further ado, let's look at it. So this is the view of the fleets that have the agent installed on that can send information to OCI, to the cloud, about how performant are my applications. So I'm kind of looking into a lot of places. I'm going to choose one fleet with a lot of instances. So this fleet has 7 managed instances. This means 7 compute hosts, to say so, that can have many Java runtimes and many Java applications. So the first thing that you would get, it would see a pane with the managed instances within a certain amount of time. Of course, the Java runtimes by version, and it can be as many as you see here, in the metrics, the amount of applications you have in that specific fleet, and of course Java runtimes by vendor. So this can detect any Java runtime, not just Oracle's, and give you a list of how those are mapped and how many you have. Moreover, you can get a list of the managed instances with their Java runtime installation, how they're deployed, and what operating system they're running on. Now, I hope internet is with me, and I haven't lost much of it. And dependent a little on this one. I hope it doesn't fluctuate. Come on. Let me see if this one, okay, so this one was much faster. So in the runtimes view, you can see the Java runtimes version you have installed. You see a map to the vendor that provided that and the security state, and you can sort about that. So there's a few things that you know, like if there's an update available, if it's up to date, or there's no information about that. How many instances run that version, and of course, how many applications run that versions and operating systems there. Next, you can see the applications that are running inside that fleet. So this is another view where you see the application, what's the operating system for that, the number of Java runtimes that run that specific application, and of course when that was last ran. So we can see that it looks in a lot of places. So that's pretty much the basic part. Now, on the basic part, monitoring, the Java security compliance is done only for the Oracle JDK, because what we're looking into is compared against the Java security roadmap for Oracle JDK. However, other vendors are following the Java security roadmap that is done by the Java Oracle team. Secondly, the Java applications that you can see here mapped is a pretty nice view. So this is how it will look like with just the basic features. But I showed you something in the cloud, right? And probably you're deploying containers, some of you. Can you please raise your hand how many of you are using Java in containers? A lot, right? So you don't see, let's say, VMs, you see containers. And you're using FROMs, and usually the JDK in that FROM is updated, hopefully patched by who makes that, that container image. We moved to cloud because, well, that's a new opportunity to optimize our Java workloads. And we can scale up very easily. We can have CPU and memory in our hands in just seconds. But moreover, when it comes to tuning the JVM, we're still doing that in the empirical way. So if I were to ask you, like, if you would want to improve the performance of your application, how would you go? You probably say, we're going to look into the documentation, we're going to try a few flags and see how that goes. How about thinking about those flags? Now, when we're thinking of JVM performance tuning, I was also shocked when I looked into the fact that, well, the JVM is running more than 500 different parameters to control its execution. And most of the time, they have default values. The JVM, it chooses what matters to compile, how and when to compile, what hot methods cache to keep, how and when to allocate objects, how to collect objects, young versus old, and so on, how to allocate threads. That's tough to manage. So what if AI could help us to do this? Now, what would happen is that with GMS, we're benefiting from a JVM AI tuning engine that's ingesting the report about the current JVM arguments that are there. Information about from the GFR recordings about the applications, like how the application was there, is profiled. And this JVM AI tuning engine can give recommendations on how to tune your JVM arguments, but also an analysis report on why you should do that. What's the reason behind that? Without spending time into digging into documentation, what that flag is doing, what's the benefit for that, what we would gain for that. So that's pretty important from my point of view. Now, how does that happen? That happens thanks to the JVM performance knowledge base that we're having. So that AI was trained on the different JDK versions, on a lot of data. Analyzes a lot of GFR profiling data, which versions, which arguments. And of course, is learning and becoming better. So you can get better recommendations in your JVM arguments and for your performance or your security. Now, for the GMS performing tuning engine, we have some data for you. So we have G1GC benchmark of improvement with the service. What you can see in orange is like running a regular JDK 1708. And what you see in green is after we applied the flags for tuning the JVM. So in that case, we kind of saw that there's execution time was reduced, that allocation rate increased, that promotion rate increased as well. but also the pointer mutation rate increased as well. So thanks to the suggestions that came from there, everything was increased and improved. And that gets us to the advanced features. Now, advanced features can allow you to manage the entire life cycle of your JDK. So this means that can allow you to install a new JDK version, but also gives you instructions on what you can do after you install that, because maybe you have to do some afterwards actions. Then it can give you a scan on their third-party libraries that your application are using, get a detailed Java server usage tracking, of course, if you're running your applications on different servers, and of course, you get a Java migration report that can help you to migrate into a different Java version. So let's see those. First of all, we talked about Java servers, right? I need to go a little bit in time because I don't have yet servers here running in the view. And I hope that in January I had some servers running. So the report from the servers that I used to have in my fleet is that I had a WebLogic server and Apache Tomcat deployed, and which versions were those there. Secondly, if I want to install new Java runtimes, I can go and click on Install Java Runtimes, select the runtimes that I want to install. Of course, it gives you also the archive releases, like which releases are not safe to use anymore. And you can install your Java using the installer from being headful or headless, or you can extract Java from a compressed archive. Let's say maybe you have a server, you have installed that manually, and you just want to give that path there. And then, after you're doing this, okay, I have to use this part. You're getting an information what you can do next. So next you get a security information about like, hey, after you're done with this, the minimum key length for RSA, if you're using that, has to be 2048. Of course, that's an action that you can do or you cannot do. I mean, it's up to you if you don't want to do that. But you get an advice on how to do that and why you should do that. Next, scanning for Java libraries will get you to this view where you get all the third-party libraries that you're using, commercial or open source, mapped to their version, and of course with the CVS score from security point of view. So for example, the Jackson Data Bind version 2.76 is not doing that great and probably should not be used. And of course, if there are other versions, you get that either it's unknown or no matches found against the Java security roadmap for the current for their versions and what you have installed. It's nice to see where they are installed for which applications and on how many instances as well. Then from security point of view, you can get an analysis of what's left for you to be done, like to secure your applications. You get a crypto analysis report. And if there's nothing to be done for your respective installation, it's fine, that's good. There's no warnings found. However, where you need actions, you're getting that information here. So you just click on this, and you get an explanation on which application has to improve something regarding its security. And you get information about that you should, well, you're running with disabled TLS 1.0, and you can learn more about this from the Java security roadmap. Now, what's important about this is that it's ran, when you ran the crypto analysis report, that is ran against the latest crypto roadmap version. So this is an older report, and this is why you see the date here. Probably now it's a new version of the Java crypto roadmap. Different advice would be received. The frequency that the agent is running is also something that you can customize yourself to. Next, for migration. For migration, it's good to know, like, well, I want to migrate to JDK 21, but what does that mean? Does that bring me any problems for the framework that I use? So let's take the example of the Spring Boot application, and the target JDK for that one was 20. So let's say when I want to move from 17 to 20, the JMS gives me a report on what has happened and how will I be affected if I move with that application and the Spring Boot application directly to 20. So something to like take care about. So we get a basic report with a summary of like where you have changes to be done, what is recommended for you to think about, and of course, how many classes don't require changes. So and also an effort from its point of view, like it's minor. If you're going on the mandatory changes, you can see which APIs were removed, which APIs are not supported anymore, of course, and their version and what you're using in there. Same thing for recommended changes. You can search or you can filter on that one too. And of course, you can see like how many terminal deprecated APIs. Click on it and see exactly the classes and details affected to that. Moreover, if we are to move to the next view, to the performance analysis report, because that's the one that we talked about and that you get advice for the JVM arguments. Here you can get information on what you can improve regarding your JVM. And let's see for the one that's running the GC with the garbage collector, how does that look like? Now in this analysis report, you get results with the current, like looking at your current VM option. And in this case, I'm using parallel GC with initial heap size of 32 megabytes and max heap size of 64. And I get some general recommendations here that I can copy for my application. So I have to improve a few things regarding my application. Now, it's good to receive advice, but most of the time when we're changing something regarding JVM flags, we kind of justify that when we're changing something about our application. So you get information about the insights that they were collected. What insights were collected was that, well, you could benefit if you're using large pages because those improve performance. And of course, you get a summary of what that means. Also, in the case where you have current VM options to a certain value, you get those and also the targeted value and some comments like why that would be good for you to be done and not otherwise. And of course, if these overlap, they are merged and you get a response. I think that's a better way to think about how to improve your JVM flags instead of like empirically finding out which value is good for you. And it's pretty nice just to have it recommended here in one go. So I think we saw already that we can install multiple Java runtimes. But about the third-party libraries usage tracking, I want to tell you that this is complementing a static scanning that probably you know from other tools as well. This can identify also the classes that have been loaded. And it's good that it can map for you the version number, the third-party libraries that you're using, and of course can detect which kind of versions are there. Now, what I want to tell you is that this is done, the reporting on this one is done against known CVE vulnerabilities for each library, and this report is integrated with NIST and OCI Vulnerability Secure Service. The crypto event analysis report that I showed you earlier, that's also detecting the current crypto protocols that you're using. It's correlating that with the Java crypto roadmap that is the most updated at that moment. And of course, it identifies for you potential security actions that are required or recommended. So this is a good advisor for you to know on what you're vulnerable and with which library. And on the Java migration path, you get a report like I showed you for the Spring Boot app, like which libraries are affected, what are mandatory changes, what are recommended, and of course, from the high-level summary to the more detailed summary to know where you are being affected. Now, if you're running who used this before me, well, there are a lot of people, but I would like to tell you that the internal teams like OCI teams, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure teams, and other various Oracle teams have used this report to migrate the JDK from older runtimes to newer runtimes. So this was tested on others first before you run it. And of course, the service is available all over the world. So it's not just a service that is available on certain locations. And you can see on the map, depending on location and, of course, on the restrictions from security point of view of the location you have it there. If you want to get started with it, there's a live lab that you can try. And as I said earlier, you can try it for free, so it's not something that's not available to you. You can try it for free for your demo applications or something that it's not necessarily maybe related to your work. and see how it goes. And moreover, I want to tell you a few things about us, the Java DevRel team. So where you can now contribute to dev.java, meaning you can write together with us articles there. It's pretty cool to share your learning with other Java developers. But moreover, wait a moment. Yeah. Or you can find out about latest updates within Java, like JEPs that are being published or research that is being done regarding certain Java features on Inside Java. Secondly, with your community contributions, well, we aim that that this way we can help more and more developers, but also you can try the new features of the JDK with the Java Playground. So you can try your own samples into that playground. Well, one thing that I want to tell you, it's not an IDE, it's just meant to be something quick that you're running. So we cannot develop, I don't know, entire applications there and run them. So that's it. If you have any questions for me, please ask me. Yes, there's a question there. Yes. So to repeat the question was like, can you install the agents in Kubernetes? Yes, the answer is yes. So the agents can be installed anywhere. And by the way, if you want for a specific location or something not to be scanned, you can configure that. It's a regular Java agent. Any other question? Yes. The question was, is it working well if you're migrating from a much older version? I think the answer for that one, given the generic question, is yes. So I forgot to show you something. It can detect older Java versions, and in my runtimes, I think I also have Java 1.5 that was detected at some point. Yes, I have a 1.522. So it can give you advice even for those older versions. Yeah, you can see the vendor and so on here. Any other questions? Yeah, there's another question, yes. The question was, is the AI recommendation agent available as a separate product? The answer is no, it's inside the JMS for the moment. Any other question? Okay, we can meet at the booth if you want to. Thank you.